Hello, everyone. This is Kylan Marr, and this is the freight dispatching introduction to trucking. Not going to hold you guys long. Just wanted to give you guys some information on this particular topic that I posted a few days ago. And real quick, I just want to, share a backstory of how I got started in the trucking industry. Um, in 2015, I purchased a home in Miami, Florida, a small little condo. Um, and I was going to be living in that home full time. However, I had to go back to Atlanta because my business was just so booming at that time. I literally needed to be there, and I really didn't have a huge clientele base, here in Florida. So I was like, I had to go back to Atlanta, and there really wasn't a way for me to really justify having two mortgages, two housing payments, especially if they're not income producing. So on the property here in Florida, I actually decided to Airbnb that property. And yes, this is a plug for my Airbnb course. But I decided to Airbnb that property. 3.5 years later, which would be last year, 2018, I actually received my payoff notice because I paid it off. Literally, the income that was derived from those guests, those tourists, paid off my mortgage. Now, the house was only, like I said, $100,000. So it wasn't super duper expensive. But again, I never spent any of my own money on paying for the mortgage, my HOA fees, or anything, because the money that was derived from that Airbnb income paid for everything, and it paid off the home in 3.5 years. And so I sold that property last year, and I used that money to buy my semi truck, cargo van, and of course some personal things that I wanted. Right, so. I shared that to say that's how I got into trucking. Like, I stumbled up on it. I took money from one business and invested in another one. And I think that's just, what everyone should do. And essentially, I got into this business for free because none of this was money that derived from me actively working. It was a passive income investment that didn't even start out as that, but I, stumbled upon it and it happened, and I bought the truck and the cargo van. But anyway, here at Freight Dispatching. So what is freight dispatching? Truck dispatchers, also known as freight dispatchers, are the people behind the scenes who ensure that truck drivers have cargo to carry and stick to their appointed arrival times and destinations. Dispatchers are the backbone of the trucking industry, helping truck drivers to concentrate on routes and roadways and to safely deliver their cargoes. So, in a sense, you're basically an executive assistant to that trucker, that carrier. You're going to be handling the day-to-day operations for their company that they can't handle because they're on the road, picking up and delivering freight. So what are the requirements to get started in this industry? Well, there actually isn't any licensing or formal education required to become a dispatcher. Unlike freight brokering, because I am a licensed freight broker, we have to have a license and we have to have a broker bond and many different things of that nature because we work directly with shippers, right? And negotiating, contracts on moving their freight, right? So that scenario, that particular part, that job of the industry does require a license. However, the dispatching does not require a license because you are working for the carrier versus the shipper. You are working for the carrier, that owner operator, that person that owns their truck, and they are moving freight up and down the coast around the country. So what are your daily roles? So you'll be finding loads via load boards and brokers, right? So what a load board is, it's a marketplace for freight. So, you have DAT Load Board, Truck Stop Load Board. They're an online based marketplace for freight. So you're able to go on there, look at all the available loads that are available, right? And select which ones are great for your trucks, your drivers. And then you're going to be contacting the brokers and having them, you negotiating back and forth with that broker on what's going to be the rate for the delivery of that freight based on your truck. So negotiating rates, that is very important, because the higher rate that you get for that trucker, the more you're being paid, because you receive a commission off of that number. And you're also in charge of increasing that truck revenue by negotiating those rates, and also making sure that that truck is constantly on the road, of course, within reason, because there are, regulations on how many hours a trucker can be on the road. However, you'll know that information, and the trucker clearly knows that information. And you are going to want to make sure that they're on there the maximum amount of hours that they can. Also, if you could find what we call team drivers, that is good, because that increase the truck revenue, because truckers, again, are only allowed to drive for an allotted amount of time within a 24-hour span. Once that time has come, they have to stop driving and take a rest. Well, if there's a team driver, that second person can come in and take over driving, thus increasing the revenue, because you can keep that truck on the road consistently. Your daily role is coordinating those shipments, right? So making sure that your trucker knows exactly where to pick the freight up and where to drop it off, contacting that shipper and making sure that the pallets or whatever it is ready for your carrier. And then also contacting the receiver to make sure you know all of the schematics of where to go and where to drop this shipment and what time can you do this, right? So you're going to be doing all of that for your trucker, your carrier. You're required to store the records, bills, and invoices. Again, this is an executive administrative role for the truck driver. And you're also a source of communication between the trucker, shipper, and or broker, right? So you are literally handling things for this person. You are getting things done. You are that line of communication between everybody and making sure that this shipment flows properly. Things to know. You must be very well versed on truck trailer sizes and types, right? Your Class 8 trucks, your hot shots, like the Ram 3500s, your reefers, your dry vans, step deck, all of those different types of trucks and the trailer sizes, if it's, a 30 or 40 foot, things like that. You're going to need to be well versed in understanding the differences between that, because when you're booking those loads, they're going to tell you what type of trailer and truck is going to be needed and the sizes that are going to be needed in order to really book that freight. Because if you don't know those things and you're on there and you're calling, you're negotiating the rates, and then your driver gets there and he has the wrong type of equipment, right? Then that's a problem for the driver as well as that shipper. And now you've possibly ruined a relationship. So being well versed on the truck and trailer sizes and types is beyond important. And know your lanes, right? So carrier lane, aka freight lane is what we call it, are routine routes and the type of freight that your driver likes and different things of that nature, right? So you want to make sure, if your driver says, okay, well, I want to be regional, I'm in Florida, so I really only want to do the connecting states, Alabama, Carolina, Georgia, different things of that nature, knowing the lanes of your carrier. So that when you're booking freight, it's going to be much easier for you to understand and get the right type of load to that owner operator. Setting up the truck routes, how to locate the loads. You're going to want to understand truck routes. You're going to want to understand how to locate the loads once they are booked. Driver logs, you're going to want to understand that information. You're also going to want to keep records of that. And then billing reports, you're going to want to make sure that you keep, intact of those invoices and those bill of ladings. All of that information you're going to want to make sure you are abreast with and that you keep records of that. So are there any special skills that are needed? Yeah, being a multitasker is one, because it definitely is a high-paced position, right? Because you're going to be doing multiple things at a time. You're going to be on the load boards. You're going to be, negotiating those rates. You're going to be contacting your, that owner operator. You're going to be contacting him, that carrier, and making sure everything is okay. So you got to be able to understand that you're going to be doing more than one thing at a time. And then also having great communication skills. That's going to be very important when it comes to communicating to everyone involved, that broker, the shipper, the receiver, the trucker, that carrier. You're going to want to have great communication skills because that really makes your life easier and everybody else involved as well. And having good communication skills make sure that you're negotiating high rates. At the end of the day, if you're a great talker, the higher the pay is going to be. Understand true customer service, right? So making sure that you understand how to treat everyone properly and that everyone essentially is a customer of you in this transaction. And so you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward and understanding their needs and making sure you fulfill them. And you have to be a self-starter. This is, basically a work from home job. You can decide to do it out of a brick and mortar office. However, but you have to be a self-starter. You're not gonna, be in close relationship or face-to-face with people on a day-to-day basis. Basically the computer and your phone. So you have to be that self-motivator. You have to be that self-starter to ensure that your energy is where it needs to be to complete your task for the day. Be confident and have patience, right? Be confident by making sure you're educated on this information in great detail, right? And have patience when things may get a little sticky because, again, this is logistics. Anything and everything can go wrong, but it's up to you to be confident and educated and know how to handle it and make sure it gets handled in a proper and orderly and timely fashion. And having patience when you're starting out because it's going to be a learning curve, right? It's very easy information. It's a very easy job. But when anything is foreign to you, there's going to be that learning curve, right? So have patience in that and have patience when you're trying to book your first, that carrier, book your first owner operator. That's what you're going to have patience with. So how does it work? How does moving freight work, right? So here's an example. Lifestyle Aquatics, which is the shipper in Miami, needs inventory transported to New York. So the shipper, Lifestyle Aquatics, they contact a broker and they say, hey, I got 10,000 pounds of plates that need to be, shipped to New York. And the job is going to pay $3,500. So the broker says, okay, I'll accept that. That makes sense for the amount of mileage. Let me go ahead and put this on the load board, right? So the load board is where you are already at, looking for loads for your owner operator. Right. So when you see that load come up, you're automatically going to contact that broker and put your bid in. Right. Now, you won't know how much the broker was offered from the shipper. Just know you're just going to know how much your driver needs based on mileage and lane. Right. So if your driver says, listen, this is the type of freight I like, this is my lane, whoop, 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 and this is the mileage that makes sense for me based on everything in my business, this is what I need, right? So you're going to take that mileage from Miami to New York, and if it's, let's just say 1,500 miles, whatever, and times that by the rate that your driver says that he or she needs. And then that is what you're going to start negotiating from. If that ends up being, let's just say $2,500, right? So let's just say $2,500 is the base that they need. Okay. Well, then you're going to go in and say, hey, well, can we do this for $2,750? Or can we do this for $3,000? At the end of the day, it's about negotiating the higher rate for your clients, because that ultimately puts more money in their pocket and also yours. So you negotiate and you agree on the price. So how it works is the difference from the $3,500 and what your price is, the broker keeps. And then what's left goes to the driver, and you receive the commission on that total gross, not the 3,500, because you don't know that that's the number. The only thing you know is what you negotiated on. So that number you negotiated on, that's the amount that you will collect your commission off of. And that goes directly to the driver. So what are the benefits of this business? Well, it's very rare you find a business that can make you good money and it has low startup costs, right? And you can work from home and it's easy to learn and you're in great demand. That's the great benefits of this business. You can also use it as a gateway to other avenues of trucking. You could start your dispatching company and start developing that relationship with other brokers, developing relationship with shippers, and developing, of course, the already relationships that you have with your carriers, your owner operators, and belch off into something else, right? You could eventually, become a freight broker like myself. Once you get your feet wet and you understand this industry, you can then say, hey, well, I want to go into freight brokering as well. So then that's 2 checks for you, right? But you use this low startup cost, this low investment portion of the business as your gateway to understand the industry, get educated and knowledgeable on these facts and everything, and you made money in the process. Now you can go and invest in your next step, right? And becoming a freight broker. At the end of the day, I say it all the time, big bucks, no trucks. Like, you can make a lot of money in the trucking industry and don't own a truck, but you still can own a truck if you so decide to. Like myself, it is a great income generator, so I would not shy you away from doing it, but you do have to understand that there are a lot of overheads with owning a truck, a lot of overhead costs and a lot of startup costs that are required, right? So you can use this portion of the business as a gateway to get into that portion if you so decide, right? Because you can make all this money, dispatching, save that money, right? And then use that to buy your truck, continue to dispatch, not only for your clients that you have, but for your truck as well. Again, adding all of this money to your portfolio, into your pocket, and using this type of business as your gateway into the industry. Where's my money? I know you are like, okay, he keeps talking about this money and this commission. Like, where is it coming from? What am I doing? Right? So again, you're going to be paid a commission on the gross load fee, the loads that are obtained by your carrier, your driver, your owner operator. Right? So you're typically going to, the industry standard is in between 5 to 10% of the load. That is your commission, right? And you are paid directly from the carrier, that owner operator. You're paid directly from them. So that's really going to be your main difference between the broker and the dispatcher. The broker works directly with that shipper and negotiating that contract, right? And then you work with brokers and the carriers, the owner operators, right? So that's basically the main difference as far as the money. The broker gets the money from the shipper, and you, the dispatcher, get your money from the carrier. That's how that works, right? So let's just run some numbers, right? So let's just say, you have the truck averages about $10,000 a month, because at the end of the day, that is literally the minimum a truck in order to stay afloat for a trucker. As far as if they have a lease payment, they have high insurance, all of those different types of things that we have to pay for our trucks, it is extremely expensive. So bare minimum, truckers need to be making at least $10,000, right? Now, some can garner up to like 15. There's been months where I've made, grossed 15K off of, my truck, right? And if you have a team driver, like I was talking about before, if you have a team driver situation, that truck can gross $20,000 for the month. But we'll keep it at the basic numbers so that we can have a more realistic view of what you'll be making. So at $10,000, if you charge the average of the 8%, you are going to make about $800, right? So that's $800 a month off of just that one truck. So think about if you have 5 trucks, right? So if you have 5 trucks, that's $4,000 for the month just by you dispatching to these 5 trucks, right? And that's not uncommon. That's actually honestly the bare minimum amount of trucks you should be dispatching for. You honestly need at least 5 trucks, and it's not really unheard of, and it's not, unattainable. It's actually very easy to get 5. Now your goal should be 10, because if you get 10, then you're really good, right? Because then you're out here grossing $8,000 a month. Right? And that's really good. That can replace your salary, because this is a full-time job. This honestly is a full-time job. If you have 10 trucks, you're going to be working anywhere between 6 to 8 hours a day. But if this is your full-time job and you're making $8,000 a month, then it's worth giving up the 6 to 8 hours a day, because you're making really, really great money. And so how this all works is, because you've got to understand that truckers don't necessarily get paid up front. The shippers actually don't pay, maybe 30 plus days, right? So they have this thing called factoring. And factoring is a financial transaction and a type of debtor finance in which a business sells its accounts receivable to a third party at a discount. A business will sometimes factor its receivable assets to meet its present and immediate cash needs, right? So what that means is, if you book the load and it's $1,000 and that your driver is going to get, they won't be paid, to 30 plus days, 26 plus days, right? So how that happens is, most carriers are going to sell that invoice to a factoring company that says, hey, for 3% of this, I'll go ahead and give you that money, right? So they're going to take that $30 away. Now, they're doing it because at the end of the day, they're getting $1,000, from the actual shipper. So they're making money that way. They're basically, factoring this invoice so that your person can get paid, and they're making a small fee. So that's how that's going to work. And that's what most truckers do at the end of the day, because they need their money to flow. And so there are companies that actually work with a lot of dispatchers. And so you're able to be paid quickly with this service. Some do, 3 days to pay, 2 days to pay, or next day pay. Right. And so they actually have companies that work closely with dispatchers that mean that you can be paid from that factoring company directly and not wait around for your trucker to pay you. Because how it works is, the trucker's paid, then the trucker pays you, because that is your client, right? And so to avoid that, you can use a factoring company that works with dispatchers. Not all factoring companies work with dispatchers. There are a few that work with dispatchers that will divvy up what is supposed to come to you and what is supposed to come to that trucker. And that does eliminate the need for you being a debt collector on the phone with your driver saying, hey, you still owe me $300. What's going on? Now, there are times that you may have to go in collection mode. If that driver decides not to factor the invoice, or if they decide to factor it with someone that does not work with the dispatcher and all of the money went to them and they haven't paid you yet, then, you're going to have to go into collection mode. However, there are ways around that and contracts that can be signed, that have to be signed, so that you can make sure that you are paid. And ultimately, if you're doing your job and making sure that trucker is booked out, then there's absolutely no way that they're not going to pay you, because what does that mean? As soon as they don't pay you, you stop working. That means they stop working. So they're going to pay you so that they can continue to be on the road. Now, if you're not doing your job, then, that's on you. And so if they do work and they do a factoring type of situation, or they say, hey, I'm good, I don't really need to factor at all, I'll wait. Then you just need to send an invoice. And PayPal, Square, Intuit Payments, all of them will be more than fine for you to get your money. How do you get started? Legally form your business. So you can use an LLC, a C Corp, or an S Corp. That's just it. I wouldn't definitely do a sole proprietorship. Definitely needs to be at minimum an LLC. A C Corp or an S Corp will be great. You've got to start by legally forming your business. Get your stuff in order and go down to the bank and get your business bank account. You're going to need to get an updated computer or laptop. Most of us already have that, so that's, you're in the game. Must have high-speed internet. Most of us already have high-speed internet at the house. You do need to get a dedicated phone line. Okay, right? So that dedicated phone line can be a cell phone. Some people still use landlines. However, you can now, get you a cell phone that is specifically dedicated to this business. You're also going to need to get affiliated with the load boards, sign up with the load boards. And there is a monthly fee for that. They range anywhere between $35 to $75 a month. So you need to really get on 2 or 3 good, load boards. And you're also going to need some dispatcher software or some TMS, trucker management system, right? So that's just going to help you, streamline your everyday work, right? It's going to help you do what you need to do. You need a printer, an all-in-one printer, scanner, and fax. You're going to need to get that, right? Because there are still documents that have to be stored and scanned and faxed over, all of those different types of things. This is one of the industries that is heavy on paperwork, right? So you're going to need to actually get you a locked file cabinet to make sure that the documents that you're storing are secured, in your home office. And you're also going to need to take a class on contracts and forms that you'll be using on a daily basis, such as your carrier packets, your rate cons, which is rate confirmation sheets, and your carrier contracts, right? So you're going to need to know that information like the back of your hand. It's very important that you understand these contracts and forms, because you're going to be using them quite frequently and you don't want to mess something up. Insurance. Insurance is not required by you because, one, you are not a broker and you do not own a truck. You're just dispatching. So insurance is not required by you. But I personally do recommend that you get an E&O policy. I say that for every single business. I don't care if you're selling straws on South Beach, you need to have an E&O policy, a general liability policy that covers your business in the event that you may be possibly found at fault for something that you are negligent on, and it may have been an accident, right? So you just want to have that policy to protect yourself. And some of those policies start at about $30 a month. Depending on the industry and the coverages, of course, it will go up. But that policy is not as expensive as the policy you'll have on, your truck, which could run you $1,200 a month, right? So, $100 or $1,200. This right here is easy insurance, and it's really great. It's just going to be, that a way of making sure that you're covered. So where are my customers? Where are these owner operators, these carriers you keep talking about, right? So they're everywhere. So once you establish your business, you should start by really advertising on social media. There are a lot of Facebook groups for truckers, right? I'm in a lot of these Facebook groups, and it's really just a lot of people that, clown around, just, for, social experiments and things of that nature. But however, there are people that are, promoting their business inside of these groups, right? And so truckers are always looking for the next best thing, which is higher rates. Who can negotiate the higher rates for me? That's all they care about. They don't care how long you've been in business, really, as long as you have your stuff structured properly and you're a legitimate company. Listen, they just want to make sure that you are on fire to negotiate their rates, because at the end of the day, that's what everybody cares about, what I'm taking home. You can also find these customers at truck stops. Man, I literally talk to, like, every week 10 to 12 different truckers. Like, literally every week, between me just literally stopping at gas stations and truck stops when I'm traveling, like handing out cards and everything, because again, I'm a broker and I do dispatching. So, hey, these are my potential clients, and they do reach out. They do reach out to people when they get their cards, because again, they're always looking for the next best thing. And so when you are that next best thing, meaning you are handling your business like you're supposed to and negotiating those rates, then there you go. They will do business with you. Like, everybody, you listen, go to those truck stops. I mean, literally, you could sit at a truck stop maybe for literally an hour out of the day and walk away with probably about 10 leads. And then family and friend referrals. Everybody knows someone that drives a truck. Like, literally, we all know someone that is a truck driver. So that's where you're going to start, like getting in contact with those individuals, seeing, are they latched on to, a bigger carrier? Are they working directly with the broker? Like, what are they doing? Because you want to start being the dispatch service for them. And once you get one truck, I assure you this, once you get one truck and you're negotiating good rates for that truck, he or she is going to tell every trucker about you. And it goes the same way if you mess up. They're going to tell every trucker about you. So if you're doing a good job and you're booking those rates, keeping them on the road, listen, you're going to be able to build your business rather quickly, because word of mouth is so important in this industry. And I promise you get you one good trucker and you do right by them, you show your worth and provide, constant value, they're going to tell all of their friends. And then you also want to reach out to the smaller carriers. And so small carriers, we say, are like myself, right? You got a small fleet. So I have 2 vehicles on the road, right? And so if I wasn't dispatching, then I would want somebody to take care of that, and sometimes, it does get kind of hectic and I'm like, I don't really have time for that. Luckily, my drivers have been in the game for so long that they're really able to run my business, honestly, for me. So I really lucked up with the drivers that I have that drive my vehicles. But everybody is not like that. And some people don't like paperwork. Some, that's the main reason why, a trucker would hire you, because they're busy focused on the road and getting to the money. They don't really care about having to do all of the minuscule, paperwork and the office type of work. And so that's what you're going to be providing that value to. So you can contact the small carriers that have like 2, 3, 4, 5 trucks and say, hey, I'm going to take over dispatching for your company so that this could be a completely passive investment for you. Right. And so they may say, listen, if you can continue to get me booked, then yes, you can have all 5 of my trucks underneath, your dispatching service. And that is highly likely because a lot of people are moving towards not wanting to handle the day-to-day operations of their business. And that is a great, that's great for you because you're like, hey, I'll take over that. I'll do that for you. So it's time to act. It is time for you to start your dispatching firm. This was just a brief introduction on what dispatching is and how you can quickly get started and, what your day-to-day operations are. I do have a more direct course, a more intricate course that I actually am going to be releasing in the next 7 to 10 days, where it's going to dive extremely deep from A to Z, every single thing that you need to know. And if you are interested in that, you can definitely email me. Now that is going to be for a fee. I'm not giving that course away for free. However, it will be very affordable. I like to offer things that are affordable to people so that they can learn information and really start, these businesses at the end of the day. But it's definitely time to act. If you feel that this is going to be something that's good for you, then I would jump on it. I would take my class when I drop it, when I release it. I would take that so that you can get that A to Z information that you're going to need to successfully start and run that business at the end of the day. It is beyond important. And like I said, it's a gateway into so many different pieces of this industry. Like I said, you can start off dispatching, but you can end up, a broker and do dispatching. You can also end up being a small carrier because you decided to invest and buy a truck with the money that you made. At the end of the day, it's very important that you act. You can get in this industry, learn it, and make money with this avenue right here with the dispatching. So like I said, when I release it, I will let you guys know. Just simply send me an email letting me know that you are interested in it, and I'll happily send it over to you so that you can get to learning and start making big bucks with no truck. I want to thank you all so much for your time. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to reach out to me, email me. If you want to book a consultation, the link is in my Instagram bio, right? And we can schedule a call, get on the phone, and chop it up. I want everybody to enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.